This is KSL Sunday Edition with Boyd Matheson.
Welcome to Sunday Edition. I am Boyd Matheson. Each Sunday we attempt to divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense. We have conversations with great thinkers, great leaders, and great people making a difference. We talk politics so we can discuss society, and we explore society so we can discuss principles and the people in America who live them. We bring the best and brightest to Utah, and we send the Utah model to our nation's capital and beyond. Well, we live in a world that's accelerating and fast forward with more changes in one of our 24-hour days than in decades of our grandparents' lives. Preparing young people for a life of rapid-fire learning, perpetual transformation, and quantum change is vital to compete in an interconnected world. Higher education is in need of transformation to meet the challenges of a 21st century. Well, Utah Valley University may have discovered answers to all of these questions in a passionately energized and purpose-focused president, Astrid Tuminez. President Tuminez brings to UVU broad and rich experience in academia, philanthropy, technology, and business. Born in a farming village in the Philippines, she rose to become a global leader in political science and public policy and led corporate and legal affairs for Microsoft in Southeast Asia. And President Tuminez, we are thrilled to have you on Sunday Edition. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Boyd. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, let's start with a state of the state. Utah Valley University, give us an update. Where are we?
Utah Valley University is in a great place. We just started fall semester 2.5 weeks ago. We anticipate roughly around 45,000 students when the official count is out. 38% of our students are first in their families to attempt a college degree. 83% are working while going to school, and 20% are students of color. So we are just excited that they are at the university, ready to learn.
Yeah, and part of your mission and your mantra has been about this transformational change and what the future of higher education should look like. Give us that vision.
So the vision begins, I think, with exceptional care for all who want to access a college education. What we know about the model of higher education is that it's been traditionally used to weed out the riffraff. So you can't get in if you have a bad ACT or SAT score. You can't get in if you failed high school. It begins with this vision that we want everybody to have access. And then when they are in, we give them the support. It's a surround sound system of support from academic tutoring, support for minorities, all sorts of things that help students succeed in a very engaging experience at the university.
Yeah, so that care is the first component to that.
Yes.
What else do we have to do to really transform? Everyone has been talking a lot about higher education, and it's an outdated model. It doesn't quite fit. How do you do that, and how do you connect with businesses to make sure you're meeting the needs of future employers?
Yes, so I think the key word for Utah Valley University is relevance. If we are not relevant to the community and to the businesses and industry, we would be failing as a university. So we have many programs on campus, and maybe one of the ones that I could mention today is we just launched a Jobs CEO Council. And what that means is we canvassed CEOs of some of the largest employers in Utah County, and we connected with their executives to see what skills are missing when they interview people to begin working for them. And so we are working on many programs that will benefit them and benefit us, ranging from curriculum optimization so that we have students ready to be interviewed for internships, faculty externships, so our faculty can be in industry for the summer, for example, and return to the classroom with ideas from the world of practice. We're also offering them concierge services for their employees who want to go back to college.
Oh, I love that. And really getting that tailored approach. Again, you mentioned a lot of your students are working, they are engaged, some are coming back to pick up additional education. What else is Utah Valley University doing to really create that space for really a wide range of learners?
Yes, so you know we have 30% of our students are 25 years and older. And just in the state of Utah, there's a fairly large population, I think several 100,000, who have some college and no degree. So when we think about lifelong learning, we want to open that path to everybody. And it's actually really intensive work. We have phoned or emailed tens of thousands of people, and some have returned. We offer scholarships, we offer support so that they don't feel out of place when they return to the classroom. We have many, again, non-traditional students who they've raised children, they want to return, or they lost a job, and now they want to reskill or upskill. It is so important that they feel that they belong, that they are worthy to be in the university, and that this universe of learning is really open to them.
Yeah. One of the things that you brought to the table, and I can't believe it's been 5 years since you started this grand adventure.
Yes,
I know it wasn't on your radar coming in.
I feel fewer wrinkles 5 years ago.
We're glad you landed here. Tell us about some of the innovation. Obviously, you went through the pandemic years. What were some of the positive learnings out of that? How does that impact the way you approach really that constant learning, that forever learning that you're really trying to create that culture around?
Yes. So I think one of the first things that we did, even before the pandemic hit, was we hired a vice president for digital transformation. What digital transformation means is you have to meet students where they are. So the offerings are face-to-face as well as online. But when you do it online, you have to make it very engaging. And so COVID is only the starting point. A lot of online education is passive. So we are working on more engaged ways to use these technological tools. We launched a student app, which took a lot of investment, because when I arrived, students were saying, oh, we hate the app. We download it and delete it in 2 hours. So we now have a much more exciting app where students can learn about jobs, when to pay tuition, when to enroll, when to drop classes. And then maybe the third innovation I'll talk about is something that we call Excellence and Innovation Initiative at UVU. And it's all about project-based learning. When you are open admission and your student body is so diverse, you have to give everybody a chance to learn hands-on, using a project that they're passionate about with mentors who are faculty and private sector or industry players.
So important. So important. I'm going to sneak in one last question before we take a quick break. We always talk about the grittiness of the students at Utah Valley. Just give us a quick 1-minute look at what does that look like from your office?
So grit is something that we're very proud of at UVU. And in part that is driven again by the fact that some people come and they feel like they're not worthy of this experience or getting a college degree. So whether it's with our student athletes or students who've come, survived cancer, or students who had eating disorders, or students who have never felt or were told in high school that they shouldn't even try college.
Yeah.
These are the students whose success stories we tell. We have a series called Wolverine Stories, and we tell all their stories because that has a reverberation that is like magic on our campus.
And that culture is so important. Well, we're going to stay with the conversation with Utah Valley University President Astrid Tuminez as Sunday Edition continues on KSL TV. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunday Edition. We're continuing our conversation with Astrid Tuminez, president of Utah Valley University. And President, we want to go beyond just the classroom. You've had a focus on critical thinking and some of the skills that will be helpful in a business career, but really it's about a lifelong learning pursuit.
Yes, so the largest college at UVU is actually the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And today we may hear a lot of disparagement about the humanities and social sciences. But we know that higher education helps us not only to be prepared for the workforce, but also to be prepared for life. So our mission is to help students succeed for work and life, to help students become critical thinkers, to help them know how to pick up the newspaper, filter information, critique it. One of our initiatives that I'm most excited about is our civics literacy project. Democracy thrives when people have good information, can debate critically, but with compassion and joint purpose of preserving a democracy. So that's one of the things that I'm proudest of, that we are teaching our students to think critically and find their place, belong and be confident, find your place.
Yeah, that's so important to be part of that community and all of that ability to go beyond the headlines, to go beyond the clickbait kinds of things, engage in discussion, whether it's your focus on the Constitution, and it is Constitution Month and American Founding Month here in the state of Utah. We're talking a lot about that. But you've understood this on the international stage as to why democracy is so important. And I love all of the things that you're doing down at Utah Valley as it relates to the Constitution, to civics, the Herbert Institute there as well. Give us some perspective there.
my perspective on being having traveled around the world. So, I've lived and worked in 5 different countries. I grew up in the Philippines during martial law, so I know how quickly democracy can die and you have an authoritarian dictatorship. I also lived in the former Soviet Union, so I sometimes joke that with all these concerns about communism, I always tell people I've actually lived in a communist system. And so what I appreciated about coming to America really was that democracy is a place of compromise. It thrives in the middle ground. And a university is the best place for that. We've had speakers that have been controversial for certain sectors of the population, and I've encouraged people to picket, to make your protest known, but do not cancel that person. Listen to them, because if there were a place for good debate and discourse and conversation, it is actually the university.
Yeah, I actually believe the university is a place that we have to count on for the country to reframe how we have a lot of those debates and a lot of those conversations. I want to talk a little bit more about the students at Utah Valley. We've talked a lot lately about mental health. I know it's been an important part of your presidency at Utah Valley University is addressing some of the mental health challenges and support systems for your students.
Yeah, so mental health, these problems are an epidemic across the country. And what we've done at UVU is, first of all, make sure we have right on campus itself support services for students, whether that's one-on-one counseling or peer-to-peer counseling or group counseling. We will never have the resources we need to have the right ratio of full-time counselors to students who need help. But above and beyond the mental health counseling, we have a food pantry, we have a care hub where students can go practically for any need. Sometimes we've found that the only difference between a student staying and dropping out is $500. So we offer emergency scholarships and grants up to $500. We have an interfaith center. We have, an LDS institute because the majority of our students identify as Latter-day Saints. So we try to meet the needs in many different ways, 100 Students Club. Most important, though, is I think our ability to generate feelings of joy and community at UVU. That's the reason I walk around with green pom-poms because I want people to feel that there is a joy to be had in life. And whether we are all, we disagree or agree, we are in this special place called a university. And mental health is the front lines, is also our professors. So we try to support the faculty in the difficult work they have to do. And I emphasize at UVU that it is all our jobs to look out for one another.
That's such an important part of that process. We've often talked about Utah as being a crossroads of the West. Increasingly, it's becoming a crossroads to the world. Utah Valley University has become part of that crossroads to the world. Just in our last minute, give us a little perspective from some of your colleagues from around the world and what they're starting to see and get excited about when it comes to Utah Valley University.
So, UVU has been a central partner for 2 of the largest United Nations conferences, that one on the Sustainable Development Goals that were conducted here in Utah. And this past summer, while on a short sabbatical in Singapore, I actually welcomed a Utah trade delegation to Singapore, and they went as well to Indonesia and Vietnam. So with UVU, we strive very hard to bring the world to Utah and to also bring our students and faculty to the world, because we have something to share in our model of education, whether that's study abroad programs or taking our leaders out to, especially Asia, I think, because Asia is so dynamic. And I think there is truth to the argument that this balance of global power is shifting to Asia, and we need to understand what the opportunities and challenges are. We had a massive summit on China. That was so exciting for me, where everybody from around the United States came to Utah Valley University. And it was astounding that we were able to have those kinds of dialogue with business and academics and journalists.
Yeah, Utah Valley's really become a convener. That's so important. Just last minute here, give us one thing that you wish we were thinking about or talking about when it comes to higher education.
I wish that we would, first of all, what we should stop talking about. We should stop talking about how higher education is not necessary. That is such a harmful myth. Higher education is so necessary because any society that expects to compete and thrive must educate its people. The 21st century is a knowledge competition. It is a technological competition. It is a humanistic competition. Not just competition, but collaboration. And so I think we should continue to not only emphasize the advantages of higher education when it comes to earnings, family life, health and a thriving democracy, but really do our best to let go of these notions that have become popular but are really harming those who need education the most.
Oh, fantastic. President Astrid Tuminez, as always, we appreciate you coming in, appreciate your leadership, your energy down at Utah Valley University. We'd like to bottle it and sell it all around the world, but thank you for your leadership. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, when Sunday Edition continues, we'll look at Utah's unique approach to America's founding and founders coming up on Sunday Edition. Stick around. Traditionally, our country celebrates Constitution Day on September 17th. Utah doesn't think one day to reflect on our Constitution and founding principles is quite enough. The Utah State Legislature passed and Governor Spencer Cox signed into law a bill designating September as American Founders and Constitution Month. The bill passed the Utah Senate unanimously, and it passed the House with only 2 no votes. Among other things, it encourages all civic, fraternal, and religious organizations and public and private educational institutions to recognize and observe this occasion through appropriate programs, teachings, meetings, services, or celebrations in which state, county, and local governmental officials are invited to participate. It's true that what we ignore or forget, our children may never know. And what our children do not know, our grandchildren are unlikely to possess. One of the great challenges of our day is a newfound willingness by many to cancel or condemn individuals, institutions, and even ideals based on out-of-context criticism or inappropriate societal comparisons across time and across history. Some have taken that lens and created a curriculum that presents America as a fatally flawed nation built on a lie. On the other hand, some have taken a lens that America should never acknowledge wrongs, inaccurate beliefs, bias, prejudice, injustice, or persecution from its path. Both approaches are flat wrong and a bad way to look at it. As part of Constitution Day activities at Weber State University this week, I interviewed legendary Washington Post columnist George Will. When I asked him about how we should frame our view of our nation's founding, he said we should pursue it like a great portrait artist, capturing warts and all, but that we shouldn't just paint the warts. Mr. Will said that American principles had produced the greatest advances in human flourishing in the history of the world. An RMG research poll pointed out that 82% of voters believe that the United States was founded on ideals of freedom, equality, and self-governance. The survey also found that 89% believe those ideals are worth fighting for today. Only 5% said they're not worth it. Some 93% of Americans want leaders in this country to unite the nation and believe that America's founding ideals of freedom, equality, and self-governance are a good foundation for bringing people together and actually unifying the nation. So the American people actually believe that the founding ideals, many of which have been under attack from the very partisans and elites who keep telling us we're too divided, that those principles will heal and reconnect the country. So as we reflect on America's founding and founders, we should be measured and mindful about how we approach it and what lens we look at it through. Historian Matt Groh cautioned, be careful about sources of information that just seek to tear people down. Look instead for sources of information that are based on the records left by the people themselves and that seek to be fair to them. It's really easy to play gotcha with the past, to pull a quotation or incident out of context and make it look alarming. Groh went on to say that the right framing for exploring America's founding includes what he says as a historian, that he tries to follow the advice of British novelists. He said, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. That means when we visit the past, we don't want to be an ugly tourist. We want to try to understand people within their own context and their own culture of the time. We want to be patient with what we perceive as their faults. We want to be humble about the limits of our own knowledge, and we want to have a spirit of charity about the past. Now, part of the hubris of those who condemn America's founding and founders comes through the divisive politics of our day. Many exhausted citizens are just trying to discern where we are as a nation, what matters most, and where the country will go from here. Political rhetoric is creating confusion rather than clarity, contempt rather than cooperation, and a cancel culture mentality towards those we disagree with or that we simply do not understand. So the way out and the way up for America has nothing to do with politics, something to do with policy, more to do with principles, and everything to do with people. We far too often look at politics when we should be looking to people and to principles. Sutherland Institute founder Gaylord Swim foresaw the challenges we would face right here in 2023 when he said nearly 2 decades ago, "This process," meaning politics, "requires strong advocates, certainly, but it also takes a counterbalancing sense of humility, civility, and dialogue. The political course often leads to power struggles, pride, vanity, and egocentric ambition, ending in acrimony. It all too often manifests itself in strident voices, character assassinations, protest demonstrations, cloakroom deals, and corruption." A quick glance at the news will confirm that this is where we are as a nation. Sadly, politics has failed. Our leaders are lagging, and too many in the media feed and foster the divisive anger, fear, and frustration across the nation. So humility, civility, and dialogue are the proper way to approach our history and create our future. Confronting past wrongs and the many times the country has failed to live up to the founding principles of America is part of the path to progress. However, criticism, cancel culture, and abandoning ideals will never build a better, brighter tomorrow for citizens. The proper perspective on history, restrained reaction to criticism, and the appropriate application of founding principles to today's problem will result in real progress for the nation on issues like race, equality, faith, and freedom. Those are the key pieces. The American people may disagree on a host of issues, but they are united in a most extraordinary way and unexpected way in their belief that the founding principles are indeed the best way to heal the country, foster freedom, promote justice, and erase inequality. In short, the citizens of this nation believe it's through the lens of American principles that we will see our way toward a more perfect union. Thanks for watching Sunday Edition. I'm Boyd Matheson. And as always, as you go out into the world today, make sure you see something that inspires, say something that uplifts, and do something that makes a difference. Music and the spoken word is next.